This intriguing unidentified flying object sighting was captured on a windy night in Spain in 2009. A full moon is looming overhead. Watch to the left of it.
It's kind of funny. You see like a little shadow over there on the left side of the moon there? Floating around there. You see that? I don't know. I really can't tell.
A strange light formation appears. At first, the lights are in disarray.
Wait a minute. Look at holy shit, look at that. Look at the shape.
Oh my god.
Whoa, that's cool. You see that?
Yeah.
Look at it. It's covered right
But then they form a triangle.
front. They look at perfect shape. Oh, that is
Many in the comments are astonished and are wondering if this is for real. What do you think? Take a look at this picture of Patty and Joe Martinez. Do you see anything wrong? Maybe if I circle it for you, it will help. This hideous creature over his shoulder looks like a dog at first, but its nose is too flat and pushed in, and a top row of human teeth form a snickering sneer. The yellow eyes are open as wide as possible, and there's a tiny pupil at the very bottom, meaning it is looking down at you. Photo experts have verified this picture is real, which is absolutely terrifying. After all, there's no reason for anything that scary to be anywhere near a wedding anniversary, especially behind you. A YouTuber called Douglas Cash stands at the entrance of these caves in the Bahamas. The stunning scenery grows less colorful and more claustrophobic as he takes a few hesitant steps inside. Soon he finds himself staring down a tunnel that looks barely large enough to support a human when a wild shriek fills his ears. Listen to this and tell me what it could possibly be, animal or otherwise.
Boy, you know I ain't going down yet, right?
Whatever it is, it sounds about medium-sized, but vicious enough to tear your throat out if given the chance. Even Douglas doesn't seem to recognize the menacing noise and decides not to go any deeper. But since he did come all the way out to this area by foot to do some exploring, he decides to hang around the cave entrance for just a bit longer. After all, it's brighter here, and he doubts whatever he heard is going to come out of the darkness. He explores for another 2 minutes or so, studying the natural rock formations and whatnot, and then decides to call it a day. But unknown to him, looking back at him from the darkness are two glowing eyes that quickly disappear, and if you listen closely, you can hear some kind of chittering language that could indicate a certain level of intelligence. This thermal camera captured a baby's cry, living people, and not so living people. First, the baby is heard. Next, a not so living person is seen on camera. And again here. Apparently, this is the background without the thermal camera on. And then lastly, a female EVP is heard. What does she know? My guess, I think she knows who the not-so-living person is lurking around the room. Elton Mene Severo posted this video in January of 2006 of an unexpected visitor while playing with his webcam. This dude is being watched by an otherworldly creature from his doorway. Unbeknownst to him, you can see the outline of the figure lurking and lurching creepily in the hallway before it vanishes into the darkness. When this guy finally notices the figure in his webcam, he gets up to investigate, and he's never seen or heard from again. I made that last part up. I have no idea what this investigation turned up, but I do know one thing. I sure wouldn't want to run into whatever that thing was in the darkness. You're exploring a dark underground mine, water dripping, echoes, silence, and then you hear this. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Resurrect. The Redditor was on an adventure through the Dissido mine in Arizona when he heard what he describes as footsteps on wood coming from deep within the tunnel. He says he and his crew were the only ones there at the time. Would you hightail it out of there or wait to see who or what was approaching? Well, most in the comments are already racing for the hills. Redditor JD250 offers a potential explanation. He writes, "When I was a kid, I lived up in Tennessee right on an old mine used by the town for storing stuff in the early 1800s, and I would hear sounds like these." Although JD says that he doesn't personally believe in ghosts, he admits to sensing the presence of pain and suffering in a place. On another note, the Redditor felt angry and hostile vibes in the place and insisted that it felt like something terrible had occurred in that mine, and he didn't want to know what it was. He also notes that his stepfather felt he couldn't breathe at one point, and not from overexertion. Do you think this could be explained naturally, or is something haunting this mining tunnel? Wherever you stand, myself and most agree that this is one of the creepiest videos posted. While exploring a spooky abandoned cellar, these ghost hunters face something more fearsome than ghosts. Published by Scary Labs in August of 2021, this scary video shows the crew investigating several dark bricked rooms. The cameraman scans one room that appears to be empty, then he turns to his colleague, who is directing her camera toward another room, asking the spirits to come forward. When the spirits refuse to answer, the cameraman turns back toward the previously empty room, only it's not empty anymore. Black cloak, black hair, pale skin. What was this thing? I'm guessing Professor Snape, but the crew didn't stick around long enough to find out. This is the last thing you would want to see in the middle of the road at night. Published to YouTube by Christian Garcia in October of 2017. This clip is titled "Witch on the Road." The footage shows a motorcyclist driving on dirt roads in the middle of the night. After a time, he comes across a person sitting on the side of the road in the darkness. The person is wearing blue pants, a white shirt, and has gray hair. She doesn't look up, even with the headlights of the motorcycle spotlighting her. The cyclist takes off, but then decides to turn around again. They approach the witch, say hello, and ask what her name is. When they receive no real response,
Hola, señora.
they drive off into the night, leaving this person, or witch as they say, in the darkness on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. What would you do in just such a situation? YouTuber Mario Batanker2 writes in the comments, "Ghost or non-ghost, it's always a little disquieting if not disturbing. A being in a place so far dark and alone. I think this video generates more sensations than many super elaborate videos that come up in such situations. What sensations do you feel? I feel terrified." This large and important river in Asia is surrounded by 10 factories and now has a green and purple glow. Here a citizen splashes around to separate a top layer of foul-smelling harsh chemicals clinging to the water. Chemicals from factories could have caused portions of the river to dry up. In this dried up riverbed is a greenish blue alien looking substance that researchers are unable to determine the composition of. What this mystery substance is doing to people and the world at large is unknown, but if its appearance is any indication, it looks like some kind of unnatural super mold that was created by our own carelessness. The historic Jefferson Hotel is a hotbed for paranormal activity, and this is one of the creepiest pieces of evidence yet. Published by the hotel in March of 2021, a security camera captured this incident in one of the hotel's hallways. In the clip, a guest of the hotel is seen looking for her husband. She asks a couple walking by if they've seen him. As they're talking, a deep guttural growl is heard. They all hear it and jump back. You can see their reaction here.
All jumped back as if something was like yelling at them down the hall. You could see they were all scared.
The couple walks away while the first guest is left alone with whatever made this noise. The hotel's caretaker says that the male guest seen in this video asked him where the speaker was. The man thought the hotel was in the business of ambiance, so had hidden speakers in the floor to add to the haunting atmosphere. The problem is that he was wrong. After being asked this, the caretaker, knowing there weren't any speakers, pulled up video from a second camera at the end of the hallway in the direction of the growl. This is what he found.
So, did you hear that growl?
The growl sounds very animalistic, almost demonic. Is this one of the many demons that haunt the halls of the Jefferson? Or is someone playing tricks? This infrared video from 2008, taken by a ghost hunting squad in South Dakota called the SPCTR, details paranormal evidence at an abandoned house haunted by the spirit of a child. A mysterious figure peers around the corner at the end of the dark hallway. A ghost if you ask the SPCTR team, but I'm not so sure. The figure doesn't seem very tall and has shoulder-length hair if you look closely at 18 seconds, so maybe this was a little ghost girl in the hallway after all. If this is fake, then one of the paranormal investigators is crouched down to make themselves look like a kid. Tell me if you think this paranormal evidence is legit, or if this was a made-up sighting from the early days of YouTube. Jordan Powers sees something in the sky, and all his mom can do is get mad at him for it.
What are you looking at?
She doesn't see anything and thinks that he has lost his mind, but we can see them just fine. Mysterious lights, 5 of them all flying in a strange formation. Jordan describes these unexplained lights as silver in color, and months later still has no idea what they were. It happened in Kelowna, a city in the Canadian province of British Columbia. Somebody from Virginia says they've seen the same lights and describes them as hiding in the clouds. I'll admit this short 13-second video is not a lot to go on, but what little evidence there is does look unedited and quite bizarre. Hopefully I can find a longer video taken by somebody else on the same day to confirm this sighting is real. A Twitch streamer named Jake is visiting another country and enjoying the downtown nightlife. It's getting really late and he's about to turn in when 2 girls he's never seen before walk up with huge smiles and start dancing with him. They're acting like they've known Jake for a long time, while this guy in gray lurks in the background. Jake doesn't mind the attention at first, but he grows progressively more confused until one of them speaks in English, so as not to alert the man nearby.
Listen, behind you, there's a man. I saw it. She needs to help us, okay?
You can see he's staring really hard at the women with a serious expression. He's also standing way too close and looks to be within grabbing distance. When he looks over at them again, they try to play it cool by jumping up and down in fake excitement and acting like they don't even notice him. In reality, they are literally too scared to make eye contact with him, and they're turning to Jake for help.
Yeah, he's still staring at us. He's still staring at us. Okay, hold on.
Wait, do you know that guy? Get that guy on camera.
He's leaving.
Jake hangs around for another few minutes until the man wanders off. The girls hug each other out of relief and quickly dart the other way. I really hope this man had second thoughts about whatever he was going to do, but something tells me he wandered off to find an easier target. This kind of video really shouldn't exist anywhere in this day and age, but sadly people like this creeper are still out doing weirdly bizarre things like this. Kudos to Jake for stepping in and putting a stop to it here. This video shows evidence of the terrifying unknown, as strange lights were captured in the Tokyo sky on June 26, 2020. Some suggest the lights are not those of unidentified flying devices, but rather of Starlink, SpaceX's satellite constellation, which is being built with the aim to provide nearly worldwide internet access by 2022. These low Earth orbit satellites are mass-produced and work with ground transceivers. Could that be nothing but a project by Elon Musk? Others suggested simply air traffic approaching the airport. Redditor Bacon for Life writes, "Well, it is spooky when there's a bit of a traffic jam to come into the airport. Aircraft turn their landing lights on quite high and far out so that it's easy for the tower to identify each of them. Still a good spooky video though. Do you agree with these assertions? Or is this just another thing they don't want us to see?" This ghost has had a few too many. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Best of Us. Here is yet another haunted bar whose resident ghosts' sauced up antics were caught on camera. Watch the bottles to the left of the bar. One bottle on the second shelf starts to nudge toward the edge. While a wet surface sometimes has that effect on items placed on that surface, it usually doesn't lead to this. After inching slowly toward the ledge, the bottle takes a sudden jarring leap, knocking a second bottle below it off the display. This doesn't seem like a natural progression. Rather, it seems like the bottle was yanked from the ledge by some unseen entity. Many in the comments relate their own stories of haunted bars, with Redditor Your Dumb Idiot chiming in, "I used to work at a bar that was haunted. Always the same bottle thrown off the shelf in the morning despite me moving it to prove it wasn't a ghost." While many, including myself, wonder what these bar ghosts could possibly want from us by throwing bottles around, Redditor Tech Impaired has one theory. He writes, "They just wanted some booze. I see what they did there." In this lost tape, some young punks are playing around with a brown paper bag, throwing it at each other before they go to plant it on the doorstep of a stranger. Once it's placed there and lit, one of the punks knocks on the door and races away, while the old man homeowner opens the door to find it flaming there and stomps it out. It probably didn't seem so funny when the men attempted to prank him for a second time. This time the old man comes after them and they just manage to escape, but the third time's a charm. When the prank is attempted a third time, the man is waiting for them. He peers down through the curtains of the door window, whips open the door to strike the young guy on the head, and then drags him into the house. When the two others go to investigate, they videotape the front hallway, where the old man is seen leaving into the next room. They then head around the outside of the house and into the backyard. That's where they meet their maker. No other information on what happened next could be found. This next video is very difficult to watch, but important to see. Blake Coatney has recently lost his brother Cody, and he feels he can no longer deal with the situation on his own. On top of that, he also recently broke up with his girlfriend after a serious relationship. His 8.5-minute video starts off pretty normal, and it sounds like he is just letting off some steam, until you realize that these are the last words of a man who decided to take his own life. Pay attention to what he says, because if you hear anyone else say something like this around you, then maybe you can get them help. He says that he doesn't want to feel anything anymore, which is a major red flag.
I don't want to feel like this anymore.
If you know anyone who strongly and overwhelmingly feels that their life has no purpose or direction for long periods of time without changing their minds,
I'm not doing anything with my life.
it could be another sign. Watching him say goodbye to his family makes this video incredibly saddening, but at the same time, his family posted this online in hopes that it will save someone else's child from saying these terrible words.
Mom, I just want to tell you I love you. Thanks for always being my best friend.
If someone you care about is feeling this way, don't wait to talk to them about it and get them help. Ask them questions and let them know that they are not alone. It could make all the difference. And if you are feeling the same way as Blake did, then please know there is help available. I suggest befrienders.org because they are a non-profit who offer worldwide resources. If you've never come across a sadistic shadow, then you don't know true fear. Think you're brave enough to face it? Then keep watching. The footage shows an empty stairwell. A young woman appears at the top, descending to the hallway, when she abruptly turns back as a dark shadow enters the stairwell from the doorway below. The vague shadow then disappears into thin air, but then appears again moving up the stairs. Solifidian in the comments has a theory about the shadow ghost's movements. He writes, hypothetically speaking, a ghost may not have any real physical limitations, so maybe movements are not going to align with how physical matter moves, but it appears it is absorbing all visible light frequencies, so it must be comprised of some kind of particles. What do you think? Is this particle-like shadow ghost something worth investigating? I certainly think it is. A doll that speaks is not mysterious, but a doll that speaks when it has no batteries certainly is. That's apparently exactly what this doll can do. If someone could please tell me what brand of doll this is, and also translate what is being said here, then maybe we can help solve this mystery. They examine the doll for a hidden battery compartment and ultimately find nothing. Over a year ago, I briefly touched on the saga of Joseph Chan Sloan, a YouTuber who for years was haunted by a spirit from 2011 to 2014, but I didn't get to cover his whole story. 3 more videos in particular are worth getting into, but first I did some more research and discovered a blog with years worth of updates. Joseph first noticed an apparition within weeks of letting his girlfriend move into his apartment, so I suspect she may have brought something that had attached itself to her. Soon each of them felt constantly watched, especially in the shower of all places, and it got to the point where they both thought they were getting pranked by each other. But one day, as Joseph was taking a shower, he heard his girlfriend come into the bathroom. The topic was already on his mind, so he explained to her that he thought the apartment was haunted, but then the figure on the other side, the one who he thought was his girlfriend, disappeared mid-explanation. From that point on, Joseph began setting up his soul camera in different places to document the spirit, and that's when things ramped up to the next level. On April 16th, 2012, Joseph announces out loud to whatever's listening that he's turning in for the night.
So we're just going to film this area. I had, like I said, my lighting issues were horrible, so I'm leaving some lights on this time. So if there is anything, hopefully we'll catch it. Anyways, guys, have a good night. See you in the morning.
Orb activity begins at 2 minutes and 12 seconds, carries on for about 6 seconds, and then abruptly stops. The kitchen is eerily quiet for over 40 seconds, and then the stovetop burner turns on to its highest setting. This happens out of nowhere at the 3 minutes and 17 seconds mark, but at 3 minutes and 14 seconds, an orb shows up in front of the oven just 3 seconds before it turns on. Could this be the ghost in question caught on camera? Joseph was asleep, so this event could have burned the whole place down if anything was still on the burner, which is maybe what this ghost was trying to do all along. A full 7 months later, on November 28th of that same year, Joseph puts the camera up on a high ledge to show as much of his living room as possible, floor to ceiling. He again announces that he's going to bed and turns out the lights. It's 11:46 p.m.
Anyways, we'll see what we get and if we get anything. So I'll see you all in the morning, and
Everything looks normal for roughly 2 minutes until a shadowy movement materializes over by the entertainment center. It's hard to notice even when circled, but when you do see it, it looks way out of place. I don't think it's camera pixelation, because none of the other darker areas of the room are moving like this. And at approximately 2 minutes, a large, lonesome orb floats upwards from that part of the room and disappears. Exactly 10 minutes later, at 2 minutes and 12 seconds, this speaker falls over and lands not too far from where the orb originated from. Obviously, no one is around to knock it over, so if this is fake, how was it done? On October 1st, 2013, Joseph made his final YouTube video, letting everyone know he has moved to a new apartment. He thinks that changing his location has stopped the spirit, but considering it may have attached itself to his girlfriend when she first moved in, I'm not so sure it worked. This part at 4 minutes and 30 seconds further proves my point. It could be his camera making a squeaking noise while being adjusted, but it sounds a lot like the laughter of a small child.
but anyways, let's see if we can do it like this. There we go.
And when you compare it to his normal laugh, it's definitely not the same voice. And that's pretty much the last anyone's ever heard from him. The last update comes from his blog on July 25th, 2014, promising more videos that sadly never came. I don't know what happened to him, no one does, but suddenly dropping off at the height of your fame is not reassuring to say the least, and makes me wonder if something terrible happened. A YouTuber named Outdoors Weekly is fishing with his little brother when he gets a little too comfortable with his surroundings and makes the mistake of letting his guard down.
Oh, no! Oh my god! Oh, dude! Oh!
He sees the snake at 2 minutes and 21 seconds and hears his raised foot approximately 1 second later at 2 minutes and 22 seconds, ready to come down. He was about to step right on it, no doubt about that, but I want to know how bad the bite would have been. Take a look at this reptile. Is this one you can identify? Thanks for the answer if so. Shortly after moving into their new apartment, this couple began to feel watched, so they installed a camera in the bedroom. A few nights later, they record a full-grown adult standing outside of their window. At first, he is so focused on staring into their bedroom that he doesn't even seem to notice or care about how obvious he stands out against the well-lit parking lot. When the couple inside walks closer to the window and gets on the bed, he tries to be a little more cautious but fails miserably. It's pretty obvious that he is still there and eagerly looking straight at them. He is about as close to the window as he can be, and he is probably really getting into the idea of watching them without being seen himself, not knowing that he himself is on camera. They can see him the entire time, and this is the exact moment that the boyfriend goes out and confronts the man, who quickly stands up and shows no aggression as he walks away. It turns out to actually be their neighbor next door. He came over and apologized the next day, but something tells me that this is a compulsion that he cannot help, and soon enough he will be back at it again, if not with them, then with someone else. These fishermen were casting into the ocean waters of Palm Beach, Florida, when a massive potential megalodon shark comes straight at their boat. The gigantic shark is easily the same size as their entire boat and could flip them if only it knew how. The sea creature faces them head on and gives the fishermen a great view of its Goliath physique as they have a tense standoff. Then it quickly snatches up the bait and retreats back to the depths below. It's hard to make out a lot of detail because there is somewhat of a glare, but I have little doubt that this video is real. Let me know if you have any idea as to what kind of shark this could possibly be. If you've never come across a sadistic shadow, then you don't know true fear. Think you're brave enough to face it? Then keep watching. The footage shows an empty stairwell. A young woman appears at the top, descending to the hallway, when she abruptly turns back as a dark shadow enters the stairwell from the doorway below. The vague shadow then disappears into thin air, but then appears again moving up the stairs. Solifidian in the comments has a theory about the shadow ghost's movements. He writes, hypothetically speaking, a ghost may not have any real physical limitations, so maybe movements are not going to align with how physical matter moves, but it appears it is absorbing all visible light frequencies, so it must be comprised of some kind of particles. What do you think? Is this particle-like shadow ghost something worth investigating? I certainly think it is. The historic Jefferson has plenty of haunting footage. This clip is one of the most chilling, captured by a guest staying in the doll room. The footage shows one of the room's many dolls coming to life. First, watch behind the pillow.
It just peers out like that for about a minute. That movement, though.
Something peers out. It's one of the dolls. A moment later, the doll falls over. This is the doll in question. The staff shares its creepy history.
It does have history to it. Typically, we'll put the doll here just to make it look kind of creepy, but we've had several guests say that the doll's not there, and we'll come and look, and the doll will be behind the chair. One time, that was.
The doll is creepy just looking at it, but this footage on top of its history of innate creepiness ensures that I can't handle staying in the doll room. Dennis Allen takes an inner tube down the local creek It's something he's done often before, but this time it's raining and the currents are stronger than he has ever seen. Still, Dennis is confident in his abilities and bravely sets forward. The ride starts out gentle enough, but soon picks up speed as he moves into more open waters. Soon he really begins to regret not bringing a paddle, as he is carried through low-hanging branches and other thorny obstacles. He manages to keep his balance for about 5 minutes, until it becomes apparent that he can no longer hold on.
Oh shoot, this is too dangerous.
He is carried downstream and eventually clings to a bridge while water rushes beneath him. Dennis seems to be trying to stay calm, but I can detect some fear in his voice, perhaps more than he is meant to let on. He quickly realizes pulling himself out of the water is going to be a lot harder than he initially thought.
Oh, this was something stupid. Oh shoot.
Dennis slowly works his way to the shallow end, without letting go, and eventually he climbs out with the help of a nearby bridge pole. Looking down, you can see he was clearly not exaggerating the danger. The current is strong enough to pull a full-grown man under. A YouTuber named Daniel finds a graveyard that is different than most others. It is in a bad state of disrepair, but beyond that, some of the graves are just plain missing.
Doesn't look like it's 6 feet deep either.
The graves could have simply been relocated, but if that were the case, then I think that the grave sites would have been filled back in. For some reason though, this graveyard has perfectly dug up graves with absolutely no evidence of a burial. There's no casket and no headstone. It's not like these plots were recently dug for a future burial either. Vegetation is slowly creeping back over them, and they are covered with a light bed of dry leaves. Whatever the explanation for the absence of these graves, one thing is for sure, clearly a lot of time has passed since they've been uncovered. This highway footage comes from Britain and is about 10 years old. It looks like just another normal night until an unknown creature comes scampering across 4 lanes of traffic in less than 5 seconds. It almost looks like a deer or dog at first, but a closer look shows you that its legs bend inwards at an odd angle. Its front and back legs nearly touch as it runs, almost like a cheetah, but such an animal, of course, is impossible to see in a place like Britain. The YouTube community seems to be split on this one. Some people insist that it's CGI, but others say that the footage is authentic. Even when zoomed and slowed down, the monster appears to jump over the median at the right time and narrowly avoids getting hit by the car. No other cameras have managed to pick it up since, or if they did, then the footage was never released to the public. D-Doc Michael is a Korean-based YouTube channel run by duo Tichi and Michael. The pair travels to various alleged haunted locations across South Korea and document their experiences. On March 21st, 2021, Michael ventures alone to what is said to be the grounds of a passed-away shaman. The first 2.5 minutes of the exploration are rather quiet, but that changes when he finds what looks like a small office or reception desk. He is checking out some paintings left there, and he is startled when he smells what resembles ash. This could explain the box of matches on the table, but he gets a fright when a knife left on a plate starts moving on its own. This causes him to flee the room briefly, before he returns and tosses the knife outside. Later, after cautiously passing in front of a mirror, he peers into the next room and is startled to see what appears to be candlelight coming from the other side of some faded glass. As he discovers, to his relief, it is just a street light. His live chat starts frantically typing to look at the ceiling. Confused, he looks all over the ceiling but finds nothing. But that's when they tell him to look at it through the mirror. He does so, but again finds nothing. However, the chat seems to have seen something on the ceiling through the mirror when he passed by it earlier. It's hard to tell if there is actually something there, but maybe you can see it for yourself. Deeper into the house, he sees a roll-out poster sticking out around the door. Much to his shock, it appears to be lightly moving up and down, as if trying to roll itself. It gets a good way up before dropping down again, leaving the startled man to slowly creep around. On the parchment is what appears to be a caricature of a being or symbol. Eventually, he starts asking if whatever is there will talk to him. A loud sliding noise startles him. The investigation escalates when lights in the room starts flickering on and off without explanation. His voice becomes more distressed at this point, and he is clearly reaching the end of his nerve. However, he ventures into the room where the light came from to investigate, only to find nothing there, and that the electricity doesn't even work. Despite seemingly confirming this, he finds another flickering light in the next room. As Michael tries to peer around the corner, a section of the wall falls and almost lands on top of him. Clearly, something doesn't want him around. He makes a quick exit from the room, then returns to apologize and ask to talk. However, he doesn't stay long, seemingly compelled to another room. There, he finds a photograph left on a table. Could this be who he has been encountering? The creepiest encounter of the entire night is when Michael peers into a dark room, only to see a figure moved in the shadows.
Huh?
The figure resembles a shoulder, with its neck and head obscured. Something remains within these walls, and Michael is clearly convinced he has communicated with something. Hopefully the duo will return together and conduct another investigation in the future. If you've ever been in a school at night, you know how creepy the dark, empty halls can be. Well, this school takes the hair standing on end to another level. Published to YouTube by Tubba Rubba in January of 2016. This scary video shows security footage via a video monitor which was captured at the apparently haunted Folk High School in Arkansas. A janitor's cart sits in the entrance of a bathroom. A moment later, it starts to move slowly forward. It pauses for a minute and then rolls further, wheeling around the corner before launching fast across the hallway and then turning sharply to enter another room. According to Tubba Rubba, the janitor of the school weighed in on this haunted ordeal. He said that his cart is too heavy to have been pulled by a string. Moreover, no one was caught on camera entering or leaving the bathroom before or after the creepy incident. So I guess we can assume the school bathroom is haunted. By folks' version of moaning Myrtle, better steer clear before she drowns you in her tears. This old VHS footage was taken by construction workers during an interior renovation project in Corpus Christi, Texas. It's daytime and well lit, and the building still has a constant eerie vibe. They claim to have seen the ghost of a girl walking across the property, and the air grew cold around them, even though they are in the south. One of them records this mysterious noise coming from the hallway. It sounds like a moan from behind. Take a listen. He calls out for his friend Tom and picks up a strange whispering noise as he turns.
Hey, Tom!
He pauses outside of an especially dark room and feels watched by a presence within, a force that strips him of his bravery and leaves him small and vulnerable. He sees movements and bolts down the hall. I think I can see the outline of something in the corner here when the room is brightened. Could this be the ghost girl they were talking about? He decides to take one last look in the room and cautiously peeks inside. Rushing footsteps come from within and send him screaming off the job site. Two people are heading down the road when a third person looks right at them and steps in their path. Watch this part and you can see that he clearly waits for them to get close and does this on purpose.
Are you kidding me?
But here's where things get really strange. According to the uploader, when he turned around, the man was completely gone. He called the police and they had no luck finding him either. Could this have been a spirit doomed to repeat its last moments on Earth? Back in 1993, this TikToker's father took a video on a Sharp camcorder. She thinks he captured a ghost. Posted on TikTok by Olivia Bishop, the mysterious video shows a child at play while her parents watch.
For all those Gen Zs out there, this is a camcorder. We'd set it up, press record, and go about our day. I don't know why, it was just a 90s thing. And just so you guys know, we've had a ghost in every house that we've lived in, so that's why I found this very intriguing. Go ahead and watch that pumpkin in the left-hand corner, and let me know what you think.
A small plastic pumpkin sits at the end of a slide near the camcorder. After a moment, it rolls across the floor on its own for no discernible reason. Some in the comments note that the baby looks over at the pumpkin at the exact moment, like she senses something is there. Olivia claims to have had a ghost in every house they've lived in. Is this one of them? It appears that's the case. Submitted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Crystal Hill 0193. This redditor wrote, "Checking out an abandoned school when we were chased out. Let's watch their submission and see what they're talking about."
It doesn't matter to me. Another throwback.
There was certainly some debate about this video in the comments. Lit_FUS3D wrote, "Scared out, I'd say." To which the uploader responded saying, "We were on the highest floor, nobody was above us, but yet it came from above us, and when we got out of the building we heard footsteps running at us. Perhaps there was someone else in the building that day, and they weren't expecting visitors. Or perhaps this abandoned school truly is haunted. Which side are you on here? Let me know in the comments." On April 5th of 2016, this mysterious UFO was seen hovering around the International Space Station at 7:23 in the morning during a NASA live stream.
I'll have to close out and open it back up again. Copy.
A flat disk slowly rises on the blue horizon in the distance. It grows larger and larger and then appears to briefly invert itself while continuing to the surface. I have no idea what this thing could be, so please give me your best guess. As far as I know, NASA has yet to give an official explanation. A large white creature has been constantly creeping around the yard of a YouTuber named Sans for a long time now, and no one knows what it is. The latest sighting happens during broad daylight and his camera is able to pick up more detail than ever before. You can see here that the creature is not very big, roughly around the same size of a nearby dog, and judging from this dog's behavior, I'd say this is clearly a real creature and not one of his friends wearing a costume. If you need more proof that this isn't a person, watch how it scratches its head with its foot at a weird angle. No human would be able to kick that fast. I would say that this is a rabbit, but I don't really see any ears and the legs look distinctly human when it walks. Tell me what animal you think this is. Until I get a better explanation, I will continue thinking that this is probably a humanoid of some kind. TikToker KittyK38, also known as Paranormal Nightmares on YouTube, continues to capture paranormal encounters in her home. This appears to be home surveillance footage in their living room. In the left corner, there is a chair with two supposedly haunted dolls on it. Watch what happens when Jamie enters the room. Upon noticing the chair tilting backwards, Jamie grabs a piece of wood and waves it behind the chair to check for any strings. He cannot find any though. The chair finally returns back down and Jamie quickly exits the room. All this recorded evidence really aids to the legitimacy of this haunted house. What would you do if you lived in a house like this? I'd be sleeping with the lights on. A YouTuber named Cup Stewart lives on the cusp of the rainforest in Indonesia. Tonight he is investigating rumors of a small creature haunting the woods to see if it's real. He goes exploring where the creature was last seen and lays a trap. After a while, something with a white face and long hair comes out of the forest and lowers into the cage.
Nice, mantap. Tuh, dia mau bawa kandang terbang tuh, cuman nggak bisa dia keberatan posisinya tuh, Pak. Bisa bawa terbang kandang itu nggak, soalnya dia kandang mau dibawa terbang nih, Pak. Tunggu aja kayaknya, kita tunggu. Oke, aja.
From the woods approaches a tall figure, a man rumored to live isolated from the rest of the island. He subdues one of them, and while Cup Stewart is checking on the condition of his friend, the stranger lets his pet humanoid creature free from its cage and runs extremely fast out of sight. This video has over 8 million views and about half the people think it really happened. I honestly can't say I agree. For one, the creature pretty obviously looks like a puppet in my opinion. I think somebody wearing black is standing behind this cage and moving it around with their arms. They also put the camera really far away from the cage. Almost anyone would put the camera right up there. They keep it far away in my opinion because it probably looks too fake close up. The man running away looks kind of weird, but it could be sped up or special effects. Even though this video is fake in my opinion, I'm including this on the list because it's gone viral and deserves an honest analysis. Tell me if you think it has any possibility of being real. Some urban explorations go from 0 to 100 pretty quickly, and this is one of them. Published to YouTube by Chris Hopkins in June of 2020, while exploring an abandoned naval base on a cold, windy night. As soon as Chris and his crew walked into this building, they heard a loud bang right beside them. Still, they decided to explore the rest of the base, no harm done, until they were getting ready to leave. After walking through the woods, as they were squeezing through a hole in the fence to get to their car, they heard what Chris describes as a Bigfoot, or a ghost, chasing after them. He says it again sounded like it was right next to them. The demonic roar is heard at least 2 more times after they get through the fence. Chris says they were running so fast that his friend lost his phone in the escape. Of course, other than the creature with big feet, there are other theories. Some think the roar came from a wild pig or a goat man, and some agree that it does indeed sound demonic. Any other ideas? Those ones already have me terrified. A YouTuber named Cup of Mocha is in the middle of making a video when she realizes she is no longer by herself at home.
What the This door is not supposed to be open.
The video goes from light and playful to an emergency situation after she sees the busted basement door. I personally would have called the police at this point, but Cup of Mocha decides to stay. Watch this part and tell me if you think she should have ran upstairs or kept recording.
I'm just gonna film this just in case like the police find it or something. But that's what the heck is going on?
She goes from room to room half expecting to get jumped by some crazed intruder at any moment. She eventually tiptoes into a large laundry room with many hiding spots. It looks all clear until this happens next.
There's literally no one here. Oh my!
According to Cup of Mocha, someone bumps her from behind and she drops her camera as they run away. I wasn't sure if this was real or not, but over 1 year later, she still appears to be having problems with this obsessed fan.
Oh my god, Monique, we need to go. Come here. What?
She sounds really scared here, but I would like to know if you think she is truly in danger or just making a fictional series. A YouTube channel called Exploring with Eric relies on Randonautica to show them the scariest place they've ever seen, and it doesn't let them down. They soon find themselves at the end of a long dirt road with multiple signs, and one of them is a warning. Google wasn't able to translate the wording perfectly, but apparently this sign says that the property is owned by a dangerous witch who has eyes on them at all times. If someone could tell me the full message, I would really appreciate it. They find 2 fences lined with creepy dolls. Some of the dolls are burned and have parts missing, as if they were used for black magic rituals before being placed on display as a warning for all to see. It must have taken a lot of time and dedication to collect so many dolls, and I wouldn't be surprised if the children who own them are being kept somewhere nearby. At the end of the road, they find 3 homemade mannequins wearing old clothes that could be scarecrows for a small garden, or more ritual props.
Do you guys see that?
Something looks weird about the one on the left. When they get closer, since I don't see any crops, I don't think it's a garden. The way this is all set up looks more like a memorial, if anything. I wouldn't be surprised if some passed on individuals were buried below the earth here, and I don't think I want to find out. A little farther up the trail, they find this old shack that looks more like a place to hold somebody, or something creepy like that rather than a place to live. They are about to explore the shed when they feel distant eyes upon them and go running. I have to say, that seems like the right choice. A small dog barks its head off at the door while a second one sits quietly like nothing is wrong. After barking for 7 seconds, the dog tracks an invisible figure with its head, and then piano music plays, followed by a faraway voice soothingly saying the word deer. According to the uploader, they did not hear this piano music or the voice until they watched this video. In fact, the only reason they started recording in the first place was because one dog was barking and not the other. Nobody else was in the house, and this was just before 3 a.m.
This video could very well be proof that the humanoid kingdom extends into the insect world. At first glance, this video appears to be a firefly or some similar sort of bug, but when slowed down frame by frame, you can clearly see that this is not a bug at all, but rather appears to be a tiny winged humanoid. The video shows an insect-like humanoid with clearly discernible arms and legs. Unlike most bugs, this humanoid only has 4 limbs, and the arms appear to be twice as short as the legs, much like a person. There's simply no insect on Earth like it. It's just too bad the lighting conditions don't provide more detail, because it would have been interesting to see more of its face and overall color patterns. Exactly where this video was shot is not known.
An infrared camera was directed toward a stairway in a haunted home. This is what it captured, published by Electrica Man in October of 2006. The cameraman casts the shot toward the top of the stairs, appealing to the ghost to talk to them. While the spirit doesn't make a peep, you can see a child-sized apparition move out of view at the top of the stairs.
Okay, everybody, hold still for a second.
You have to look closely as the semi-transparent figure vanishes quietly from the landing into the adjacent hallway. Is this ghost camera shy? Chris Halton of Haunted Earth TV shares in the comments, "As an investigator, I have noticed a connection between IR light and spirits. They do react against the infrared light." He adds that this footage is the most compelling he's seen. What do you think? It seems to me that some very mysterious stuff is going on in this home. Abnormal Alabama is all about discussing the weirdest and scariest things imaginable, and this is probably one of their most frightening videos. These creepy dolls are said to be possessed by something paranormal according to their owner, Kevin Kane, the man in the white shirt, and they aren't afraid to show it. When the host is busy talking about his own bizarre experiences with the haunted dolls, the creepy dolls provide the best paranormal evidence right in front of the camera.
They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had a the cap they would put
Not only are the creepy dolls caught on tape moving, which is scary enough, but if you look closely, you'll see one doll moves its eyes first. Its eyelids briefly twitch before the doll moves by itself. I also wanted to point out as a counterpoint that the dolls could be falling over because of how they were positioned. At 20 seconds, Kevin leans back and the other guest moves his laptop, so maybe they bumped the table and accidentally made it look like the dolls were haunted and moving on their own. Or maybe not. A Facebook user in Tlalnepantla, Mexico is walking down the street when he discovers a missing section of a wall and takes a look inside. The hollow dungeon-like area is filled with what appears to be stacks of caskets. Whether the caskets were filled or not is anyone's guess. But the point is, why would this area be sealed away underneath a highway overpass? Also, why was this section of wall broken? Maybe it broke from the inside by someone trying to free themselves. Who knows what other secrets could be hidden under there? A man in Saudi Arabia films himself working outside when he almost gets seriously messed up. At first, it looks like he simply loses his balance, but that's not what he claims, and it's not what the video evidence shows. He says something in the desert pulled on his leg, a supernatural force that wanted him to fall. Watch again and you'll see his leg does go backwards, but it doesn't go very high, so maybe he could be lifting it himself. So while this would be a creepy situation, it's hard to say if he's really telling the truth or making it up for attention. Judging from the comments, about 2/3 of the people who have watched this video worry it's real. Do you believe them? A TikToker named Jayla has a strange and creepy window that she attributes to a helpful ghost.
Really want the window to open, Mr. Ghosty. Can you keep opening it for me?
I didn't do anything. Clean my room, did everything that I...
A little bit more, please.
I can't leave.
I feel like I'm missing some kind of obvious scientific explanation as to how this window is able to do this by itself. It would be weird enough for a window to go down on its own, but one going up is just a whole other level of bizarre. She seems way too calm for it to be a spirit, but maybe she is used to its presence by now. If not, what else could it be? When Joey Salvatore and his friends learn that their entire neighborhood is rumored to be haunted, they go to the local cemetery and try to get something on tape. They don't really find much and eventually come back home, but it looks like something found them and managed to attach itself to a friend named Roger. Now he is standing motionless with his back to them in a dark room, and they are too freaked out to do anything more than secretly record his reflection in a mirror. After a while, he sits down and stops moving completely, so they decide to put Roger in his room and check on him later. Roger is nowhere to be found, at least not at first.
Wait, turn the light on. What the f? Roger! I'm done.
They are totally freaking out when Roger comes wandering back into the room completely fine, wondering what had happened. The group feels unsafe at this point and has no choice but to send Roger on his way. Eventually, Roger says that he was just playing a joke on them, but it's unclear if he really means it or if he is just in denial. Mega Chris 18 and his friends know about a creepy old courthouse somewhere in Corpus Christi, Texas. They sneak in through a hole in the fence and start exploring the outside perimeter for a way into the building. Last time they were able to get in through a broken window, but they're disappointed to discover it's been boarded up since. Mega Chris 18 walks up and curiously knocks on the wood and receives an unexpected response.
Hello? Hey, when I say hello, the light turned off and it turned back on.
The group quickly develops a method of communication with the possible spirit using the light on their camera.
Can you do that one more time? Can you do that one more time so all my friends can see that?
The ghost uses the camera light to respond to a series of true or false questions. They soon learn that they are talking to the spirit of a young female who is somehow trapped inside the courthouse. After a while, they feel its presence slip away and stop getting responses. I really wish I could have seen Chris's hands to see if he was messing with the light.
This video could be real, but we'll never know for sure. Leaked aerial footage was taken in late 2006. A formation of Italian fighter jets returned to base after conducting some training exercises when one of them, the one shown here, notices a thick black cloud fast approaching and only has moments to react.
Come? Sta passando aeroplano in mezzo a noi.
He performs an emergency maneuver and barely avoids a commercial airliner full of civilian passengers at the last possible second. Thankfully, his training kicked in because the much larger jetliner could not have changed its course. Look again and you'll see they come close enough to almost clip wings. If they had collided, no one would have survived. A paranormal investigator named Jeff Stetik's world walks into an abandoned house through a door that was kicked open long ago. An old woman once lived here, and all of her possessions are still inside, mostly various clothing items and trinkets, and quite a few photos. He is looking at two black and white pictures of a boy, perhaps a grandchild or a son, when he hears a faint sound coming from further down the hall.
What was that?
He detects nothing with his untrained eye, but as his camera adjusts to the darkness, it does pick up a small outline pressed up against the wall. Perhaps the very same boy in the pictures he was just observing. All of this escapes him as he calmly exits, completely unaware of the boy cloaked darkness just one room away. A TikToker named Jordan Dreyer rides down a rainy road when he and his friend see a lone woman crossing the road. Upon seeing them, she stops and turns their way.
What the fuck?
Her white robes fluttering in the wind, and considers them as they pass. Her face is gray and ashen, as pale as her clothing, which I guess could be makeup, I guess if this video isn't real. But as they pass, when the video plays frame by frame, one of her eyes seems to glow unnaturally, possibly marking the exact moment when a curse passes between them, and possibly onto anyone who watches this video, including you. I will say that this could be scripted. There are no other cars on the road, but they are traveling at a slow speed, almost as if they knew she was there. But like I said, the weather wasn't good that night, so maybe he's being a safe driver. Another possibility is that something bad had just happened to a real person and she needed their help, in which case whatever she was trying to get away from could have very well caught up with her again after they drove away. When your home is occupied by shadow figures, it's probably time to move out. Redditor Bianca5150 set up a security camera to try and catch which one of her dogs was doing damage in her home. She received a notification alerting her to movement, and when she checked the footage, she found this. Did you see the shadow figure? Most in the comments think she should get out now, and I tend to agree. If we're to believe that no one was really home, this is one of the best pieces of shadow figure footage that I've ever seen. Bayros H is certain that his house is haunted and claims this video is proof. For some reason, his little dog TJ is always growling at the corner of his bedroom. Bayros shows that there is nothing of interest in the corner besides some old suitcases, yet TJ refuses to give up. Eventually, TJ tracks something leaving the room that is undetectable to the human eye. Exactly what this dog was seeing is anyone's guess, but I think it was most likely a spiritual presence of some kind. Perhaps some kind of intense event once took place here and left a paranormal energy behind. This security footage shows a strange moving blur that distorts large sections of the floor as it passes by. A short while later, someone appears to be shoved from behind while walking by. It's odd how they lose their balance while walking across the exact same part of the floor. that was blurry only moments earlier. Also notice how, for whatever reason, they immediately looked down at the floor. Could they possibly be seeing something with their own eyes that the camera doesn't detect? In a circle near a haunted hut, Om Vlogs sets out to complete the 12-hour challenge. This is what happened.
वो सब झोपड़ी है, वो हॉन्टेड वाली। नहीं 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 देख तेरा ये तो क्या रहता है, I don't know, कुछ आवाज है, कैसी बताऊं आवाज।
Something is right outside their tent. When they exit, they hear it in the trees.
मेरे को झोपड़ी पे है ना हल्का सा भी मूवमेंट से दिखाई देती। झोपड़ी पे? हाँ।
And then they see it in the hut.
रुक, जब कुछ बेकाबू है। ओए प्रियंक इस तरफ से आ रही है, मेरे उस तरफ कोई कुछ कर रहा है।
Back inside their tent, they hear this, so they turn out the light.
लाइट बंद कर नीचे, वो बड़ी लाइट बंद कर, बड़ी लाइट बंद कर।
But that only seems to disturb it more.
लाइट बंद कर, वो लाइट बंद कर। भाई भाई कोई तो है।
And just when they think the beast is gone,
लाइट लगा, खोल, लाइट दिखा, लाइट मार। गया, बस आई भगाए।
back outside, it looks as though something disturbing has happened in the hut.
दिख रहा है पेड़? ओए, देख, यहीं से। ओए, ये देख, ये यहाँ हमने रखा था। हाँ देख, पहले उसने कोई जानवर था या कुछ था, उसने यहाँ पे ये सब करा है, फिर उसके बाद वो कुछ खाने की चीज समझ के।
Well, I'm not sure what beast is haunting them. I am sure of one thing. I will not be completing this 12-hour challenge. What is going on in this neighborhood parking lot? Ben Lewis shared this mysterious security footage to Facebook, which appears to show a semi-transparent child figure watch against the house in the center. A moment later, this happens. Did you see the building's light come on? I agree with many in the comments that say it looks like the child ghost is skateboarding. And apparently the place is said to be haunted by a child ghost named Emily, so I believe this is an open and shut case. Is this a ghost or not? Is what the uploader of this potentially paranormal video wants to know. First, let's watch this intro.
Welcome to Inspector Gadget.
As soon as he introduces himself, an object moves by itself behind him, or maybe a ghost introduces itself in return, he suspects. I think the object fell forward on its own because it was top heavy. This video could explain a lot of other alleged ghost sightings on YouTube, where an object moves on its own. But I don't think this was faked on purpose, just a coincidence is all. What do you think? Real ghost or not really? Thank you so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you.